Hello, everyone. Vivid Earth Tribe, how you all doing? Um, I'm trying to speak a bit louder today because apparently some people mentioned that the volume is too low. So I'm trying to figure out if it's my voice or whether it's the computer or the phone or whatever I'm using. I don't have a professional recording studio at my house yet, so it's all just recorded on the computer. So I'm hoping that I'm speaking a bit louder today. It's going to be a bit more easy to hear. Let's see. Let me know how you found the sound and if I should speak up more or maybe try something else. So, yeah, here goes. I wanted to give you a quick weekly update, world update. I know that I haven't done it for about 2 weeks. Purposefully, I kind of steered away from it because I started feeling like I think a lot of other people in the truth and spiritual community as well, that focusing on a lot of the negative is kind of just perpetuating a lot of the negative dark energy that we've had plenty of for the last couple of weeks or months. And I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to focus on positive things. And, it's like this storm that we're in is just continuing and it's not quite at an end yet, although I have it on good authority that we are nearing the end, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, so I think a lot of people are still having a lot of questions and want to know what's going on and why it's so quiet. And so I thought I'd just do a quick world update today, just to put people's minds at ease and to give them a little bit more information about what's happening around the world behind the scenes. Um, yeah, as I say, people do want to know, and I understand that, but I also want to just disclaimer: when you hear the information, it's to empower you and it's to give you a sense of what's going on behind the scenes. But we have to focus on a positive outcome. We have to focus on a positive timeline here. So when you've heard the information, assimilated it, you've got to let it go. Don't get swept up in the drama. Don't get swept up in discussing it further with friends, because then you're almost just perpetuating that drama going on around the world. It's all about manifestation and law of attraction. So we don't want to attract more of that. So we kind of try not to give it too much oxygen. But I do understand people want to know what's going on. And it's also about keeping hope alive, because there are positive things going on, and the war on darkness is being won as we speak. So I just wanted to give people a little bit of hope and a little bit of good news today. I don't have all the answers. I also just, give you information as it comes to me. I try and do a lot of digging. I follow a lot of truthers in the community and intuitive. So I get my information from very different sources, not just from one or two sources. I get it from a lot of different sources, and I normally let it simmer, sorry, in my head. So I don't just believe anything at face value. I try and let it simmer in my head, and then I decide what it is that I can bring forward. And I still can't guarantee the accuracy of all the information, of course. You've got to check that in and discern that for yourself and see what resonates with you. We all have that ability. We all have that sixth sense, that intuition that tells us whether something is true or not. But I personally just try and keep an open mind. I see what resonates with me, but I always keep the door open to be proven wrong. It's not going to just always be an exact science. It's so dynamic. It changes all the time. This war is not quite won, so we've got to keep that in mind. Things can change, although I do believe a positive timeline has already been secured. The light and the golden age has already been secured. So that's brilliant news. Let's try and focus on that timeline whilst sort of putting our mind at ease at the same time. So listen to the information, take it in, do with it what you may, but let it go. And then let's focus on the positive, and let's focus on working on ourselves, so that when this new timeline finally happens or shifts, we are ready. We are ready to shift into it, with Mother Gaia. So, guys, we are inside the storm at the moment. It's sort of on its last legs, so to speak. And yeah, interesting how it's all playing out. I think it's a very, very sensitive military operation that we're seeing happening worldwide. There are some inclinations as to what's happening, and of course, a lot of clues that can tell us what's going on as well. For example, Soros, we all know, our favorite cabal friend who's been controlling a lot of things around this world, has not been seen for months. So even the Davos meeting where he was supposed to have done his last speech, apparently that was a filmed recording from months prior that happened in San Francisco. So that's quite interesting. So that just confirms suspicions that he might already been arrested, and he might not even be with us anymore because Guatemala Bay and all the tribunals that have been happening there, all the big guys have been taken out first, but very strategically and sensitively because they didn't want to alert all the lower downs. They have to catch everyone in action, so to speak, with their hands in the cookie jar, so they can be slowly but surely taken out as well. So that's what's been going on. I personally believe he's not been around for quite a while. He has been arrested. I thought he had also maybe a double running around, which is very possible. But officially now he's not been seen for months. So that's interesting. And his kids are already apparently trying to divide his stuff, and we know that he's only really representing the Rockefellers' agenda anyway. Also the organization that starts with the W, and then from there, I don't want to say the word because I might get taken down. My channel's still new. I really don't want it to be taken down, but the second letter is E, and then the last letter is F. You all know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's very interesting. The other organization, also a three-letter organization that starts with a W, and it looks after our health. Apparently, we have to believe that it has the world's health as its main concern, which I think it's exactly the opposite. But apparently, they broke as well. We all know they've been funded largely by the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's been their main donor. I mean, how they let that go on for as long as it did. I mean, and people are just cognizantly dissonant. They don't even notice that anomaly. I mean, how can you allow a public health organization like that to be funded predominantly by one organization? Never mind all the overlap in staff and employees who work for the W organization that then starts with an H and it ends with an O. A lot of their staff also overlap with the Gates Foundation. So, I mean, how that is even allowed, how even normal people, because I do believe there's a lot of good people out there that just, they don't know what's going on. And these are smart people, hey, but they have been mind controlled, so to speak, which is not as far-fetched as we may think it is. And they just don't see it, and they don't believe it, and they don't believe it's possible. And that's really sad. But anyway, each one to their own. I've learned a long time ago that we can't force people to wake up. We can only offer them the tools and the evidence, and that they choose to stay asleep, then it's up to them. That is their contract in this lifetime, to play out that role. And we've got to move on. We've got to help others who do want to be helped, and we've got to, more than anything, help ourselves, because if we raise our own vibration, we're gonna help the whole world, because it is believed that one enlightened soul can light up 1,000 other people. You can have an impact on 1,000 other souls if you raise your own vibration. I think that's very, very powerful information, because we don't need half the world to wake up. We probably only need 1 in 100 people to wake up. It's that 100 monkey syndrome. They say when one monkey has received certain information, you'll be sure that the whole colony of monkeys soon after will have the knowledge as well. It just gets absorbed into the collective, so to speak, and suddenly everyone is aware of the information. And the vibration is very, frequency is very powerful because it really can impact your surroundings as well greatly. I don't know if you guys saw the diagram of the human body's toroidal field. So they showed the toroidal field of someone that was in fear and then compared it to someone that was in love. The toroidal field of the person in fear was like a tiny little field or aura around him, and the one in love was like 10 times that size. And that's really what it's about. It's not actually rocket science. It is very, very ancient wisdom that we need to relearn, and because we have not, it's unfortunately been taken away from us. So we've got to relearn that information, but it's so simple when you realize how profoundly simple that knowledge is. Yeah, so obviously China, Taiwan has been an interesting at loggerheads as well. Apparently, Intel has it that they've reached a secret agreement to reunify Taiwan with China and to work together. Taiwan will keep their armed forces and their own democracy and their own elections, but they will unify with China, which kind of makes sense. And I believe for all of those who don't quite understand what's going on with China and why China is suddenly painted as a potential sort of white hat, China's also divided. And you will also see that there's a Republic of China and then there's the CCP. Those are two different camps. The one is white, the other one is dark. So yeah, if you can understand that the Republic of China has also decided to join this light force that has been taking out the dark forces around the world, then it's actually quite interesting. And I do believe there's a lot of biolabs in Taiwan as well as a lot of human trafficking. So that makes sense that, Pelosi heading there like she did to Ukraine, you know where that's going to head. She's trying to secure the assets on that side. So that was why there was a threat of war. And apparently Japan will also not get involved in this fake war. The attempts to create a war in China will fall as devised by the deep state and the Rothschilds. Apparently, speaking of the Rothschilds, they own about 23 trillion to the Asian cabal leaders. So there's some division within the cabal as well. So the Chinese cabal with the Rockefellers and the so-called Khazarian M, you know what I mean? So the Rothschilds is in an absolute panic because they haven't repaid their debt that was payable on the 1st of January deadline. And that's also part of the reason they push for the war in Ukraine and China. So currently, the Rothschild families are selling off all of their holdings, I believe. And all of this is going on quietly with nobody even saying a word about it. I mean, how's this possible? Anyway, we know who controls the information, right? The MSN, mainstream media, the fake news. That's what they are, unfortunately. Believe me, I come from a media environment. I know how media can be owned. And you better believe it, because people like CNN would have been bankrupt a long time ago if it wasn't for the deep state lining their pockets and all the donations they've received from Gates, etc., etc. So very interesting. We all know the Khazarian mafia has been front and center of all of this, and also even Kazakhstan, I believe, has had an infiltration in the US and attempted to create jab passes and control food supply. Putin's had enough, and Kazakhstan people revolted with the help of the Russian military and kicked out the Davos group, finally, in all the installed corporations and leaders in Kazakhstan. That was one of the reasons Putin also could not wait on Ukraine, as the Davos, aka Hillary, aka Obama, aka DS group, deep state, started eyeing Ukraine to unleash bioweapons that essentially would target the Slavic ethnic groups. It was quite interesting. I didn't know that, but anyway, that's intel that I've received. So that was part of this whole war and trying to stop that. Mr. G. Bush, I'm not going to say his whole name because I've got to be careful here, was the head in creating and implementing all the bioweapons in the labs that they called the Project for the New American Century. That targeted certain ethnic groups such as the Slavics and some of the Asian nationalities. Helped create SARS. To this end, bird flu, Ebola, they were all bioweapons created by these characters. Yep. So you can expect Russia to very soon declassify server data, evidence on Ukraine bioweapon labs and nuclear dealings created, the nuclear weapons created source from the Middle East. So, and the tides are also turning on Switzerland deep state operations that's controlled from Lake Geneva. We all know the CIA headquarters are underneath Lake Geneva. So apparently there has been some special US military operations and forces that have been training the Swiss military on how to surround the encampment and bring down their own deep state operations. So these kind of operations have been going on around the world, literally all around the world, every single country. I can speak for hours if I talk about all of them. I just wanted to give you an update on some of the key ones that have been happening, over the last 2 weeks. The Fukushima event, which you've heard about probably as well, that was also caused by that deep state operations as guided by the Rothschilds, of course. And then suddenly Netanyahu called the leader of Japan and threatened them, extorted them. And we all know the entire Japanese ministry resigned also in the last 2 weeks. I can't remember the exact date, but it's definitely in the last 2 weeks. So you've just seen governments capitulating and resigning and stepping down all over the place, all over the world over the last couple of weeks. So that should be enough sign. So with the Fukushima meltdown, basically the deep state wanted Japan to move over 40 million people to North Korea. And the Rothschilds wanted to set up a new NWO state there with hundreds of mainstream media outlets and gatherings that heard the Japanese leaders' response to this event. They actually mentioned all of that. And of course, not a single news agency reported on this. I mean, yeah, no surprise there. So the power of these Rothschilds or Khazarian mafia are immense because no mainstream media will report on such things. It will just be silenced immediately. I have it on good authority that Netanyahu actually may be in protective custody at this stage and have been giving up a lot of information and servers. So that should be very interesting, guys. Gosh, big things happening. We're watching also a war within the deep state because now they're starting to turn on each other. Now that things are not looking so good for them, they're starting to turn on each other. And of course, yeah, they're just eating themselves from the inside, which is just unfortunately the way it's going to go for them to a large extent. They kind of know the war's already been lost. These guys have already looked into, Project Looking Glass and all of those things. They knew the golden age was coming. They knew it was going to be very difficult to prevent. But at the same time, I do still believe that there's definitely going to be a splitting of the earth, so to speak, not a physical one, but a metaphysical sort of dimensional split. So there will be a third density old earth that will continue down that path and will continue to see a lot of death and destruction over the coming years. But there is currently being a new earth being born, a fifth density earth that those who have been focused on service to others will be a part of. And yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm so there. I'm like there, like a bear. I'm there like yesterday. So I can't wait. I'm so excited. But yeah, the fact that the Rothschilds are selling all their assets and holdings and not repaying their debts to the other elite forces and entities is creating a ripple effect, a war within, and they're eating themselves from the inside, as I say. The last thing, just from a South African point of view, because this is where I am, I listened to a very interesting podcast of Mark Atwood with the two, they call them the Venus twins from Australia, which is very interesting. You'll find that on Mark Atwood's channel. They're two intuitives from Australia, and they are also a medium. They're both mediums, so they download a lot of information from the collective. And apparently what they've also downloaded is that all of the deep underground tunnels in South Africa has now finally also been destroyed. Apparently that was the last of the tunnels that had to be destroyed, and they're very, very deep underground, and that's why we don't see activity above ground like in many other areas around the world. In some countries you've seen floods, in some countries you've seen fires, earthquakes, because of these deep underground bases being blown up, or but we haven't seen that in South Africa so much. Apparently they're very deep down. But that's great news, guys. I mean, never mind all of those souls that have been saved and that are being helped and healed right now. It's also just releasing so much of that negative energy that has been stored in our earth, underneath, deep underneath and underground. So happy to hear that, and can't wait to hear more. And I'm also super excited about the concept that there may be sort of a new Atlantis being born in Cape Town, Table Mountain, Cape Point. All of those are important ley lines and important energetic vortexes that can connect with the pyramids in Egypt and also act as stargates. And I've already spoken about that in one of my previous videos, but I hope to bring more information about that to you. There are some channels and mediums that I've been chatting to, so I'll bring you an episode on that soon. So please keep your eyes posted, to keep your eyes tuned in on my YouTube. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, because otherwise, and click the little notification bell, otherwise you're not going to get informed of new videos coming out. I will bring you more videos more frequently as well, and it's some interviews that I've got lined up that's going to be super interesting. So yeah, I'm going to bring you more information about that, because I do believe some of us have been born in South Africa for a reason. I'm still trying to figure out exactly my role in it all, but I do believe there's a reason why a lot of us have been born here. It is the sort of so-called birthplace of humanity, and it's also, I've been told by one of the mediums, as I mentioned in a previous video, that this is the root chakra of the earth, which makes sense, you guys. If it's the birthplace of humanity, it makes sense that it's the root chakra of the whole earth. And we have to heal that root chakra and to be able to open up the heart chakra of the earth. So that's coming next. So it's all happening here right now, very exciting, and I can feel the energy and the fact that we have something called the South Atlantic anomaly. It's basically, Cape Town is the kind of the lowest magnetic field, sorry, struggle to find that word, in the world. So the magnetic field is very low. It does mean that we're getting more radiation from the sun. But if we just mind ourselves and we're a little bit careful, then we can adapt to the radiation levels. But the point is, it feels very light to be in Cape Town. So a lot of people come here and they don't know why. They're drawn to Cape Town. They move here from all places around the world. We've seen so many foreigners move here over the last few years. It really is a place that makes you feel light and happy, and yeah, it's a beautiful place to be. So I'm blessed to be here right now, and tempted to move to so many places over the last couple of months and years, Bali, Mexico, all these amazing places. But you know what? The grass is not always greener on the other side. And I am feeling quite blessed to be in Cape Town, especially close to the big, mighty Table Mountain right now. So I'm sending you all the wonderful vibrations from the big Table Mountain. And I hope to bring you more information about this and this beautiful place very soon. That's it for now. I hope you found this update helpful. And if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. And I hope the sound is better. Just give me a thumbs up if it has or has not been, and I'll continue to work on it. And yeah, hopefully my website will be ready soon. I expect more of the site to be available for viewing on Monday. So keep a lookout for that. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Sending you all love and light. Speak to you soon.